Hello and welcome back to Green Valley Zoo. We're now in episode 14 and it's quite an epic build, this one. I had an idea and I had no idea whether it was going to work or if it made sense, but I went with it anyway. I thought, you don't know until you try. So my thinking was, when you get in some zoos, you find buildings, sometimes they're shops, sometimes they're exhibitions, and they're run by exterior companies, essentially kind of sponsored by someone. So someone pays the zoo money basically to be able to run a bit of their business from within the zoo. So that's the basic idea of what I wanted to do here. And I wanted it to be some kind of a shop. I wasn't entirely sure what it was going to be until I started building it. But I wanted to create a shop using just in-game items. I didn't want to be trying to make items into other items or anything. I wanted to use everything that was in the game to create some kind of a fake gift shop. Obviously it's not functional. I have put 3 actual merchandise shops in here just so people will visit, but obviously all the stuff that's going to be on sale within this building is just for show. It's just for us to enjoy. So yeah, so in the end, I had a look through all the different DLCs actually, and the obvious one, as you can see here, was all the African stuff. So I laid it all out on the lawn here to have a good look at all the different objects in the set that might be items that you could actually buy in a zoo. And so that's what I did. I just laid it all out on the lawn and had a look, and then I'm as you can see, I constructed the building. Started from the ground up with the pathways. That took a bit of work. This was, I think, attempt number 3 to actually get all the floor how I wanted it. The main problem I had was all the short steps at the front of the building, trying to get them to work. Originally the building was going to be much closer to the main pathway, and trying to get it all to connect properly was not going well. So in the end I moved it back and built it independently, and then I connect them all together later on. Then obviously I put the 3 shops in, and it kind of created an issue in that I knew I would then have to create 2 separate walls. An interior wall, which you can see now with the I think it's the Australian wood panels. But then because of the way the shops are in, I was going to have to create an entirely separate outside wall, which it turns out was the best thing to do, and it works really well. So yeah, I started in this corner, just as you can see, just put some shelves in, and I was just winging it really, just thinking, right, well, what does how would they display these things basically. So I just built some shelves and started piling stuff on, finding all the pots that fit and look good. Pretty straightforward really. And I think it works really well actually. You'll see in a minute I actually do put price tags on the shelving as well. So the idea was with these pots, it would be maybe a company that makes all these things. Basically everything that goes in here is handmade. That's the idea. And so all these items, they're expensive because they're handmade. They're all individually made. They're not mass produced or anything. So you can see I've put I put little signs on the shelf and some supports on the shelving as well, and put some prices on, and then I just keep going basically. And so here I've got this statue. I thought, well, this is the sort of thing, it's a one-off piece. and so I thought this is going to be pretty expensive. Actually, I think I increased the price later on. I didn't think £300 was actually enough. I think it ends up at £1,000 or something like that. Then I thought, yeah, these drums, they're perfect. It's exactly the sort of thing that you'd see in a shop like this. Wouldn't be too expensive, but you know, I mean, I've seen things like that in zoos before. And then obviously you've got stuff like this, the artwork. And again, it's you know, you're probably not buying original artwork, you're buying prints, which is obviously exactly what I put on the wall here. It was great fun actually doing this. I really enjoyed finding the different pieces and thinking of how each one would be displayed. Here, original artwork by Dreampad Lab. Now, Dreampad Lab is the name I use whenever I play any computer game. And a little puzzle for you. It's an anagram of my real name, first and last name, but I'm not going to tell you what that is. So yeah, just a little bit of fun for myself there, really. Yeah, like I said, I had a really good time actually. My background, like I said, I am a gardener in real life, but I actually started life working in retail. You know, started off at the bottom as a Christmas temp somewhere and ended up in management. And so I spent a lot of years doing this, working out how things will be merchandised, you know, in the best way to display stuff and sell it to the public. So it's kind of my second area, or my first area really, of knowledge and expertise. So yeah, it was kind of fun finding the items and thinking of how I was going to display them all in this shop, but at the same time making it so people could still walk around stuff, obviously so that they can actually get to the 3 shops that I've put in there. I'm really happy with the result actually. Obviously I've not opened the park, so I don't know if people will come in here and walk through things or whatever. It's hard sometimes. I'm never too sure with certain objects in this game which ones people walk through and which ones they won't. So until I let people in, I'm not sure, because obviously I do put stuff right in the middle of this room. So for all I know, people are just going to walk straight through all the displays. I don't know. So I mean, the way around that, what I tried to do with some of the displays in the middle, I actually make them out of like with that limited edition sculpture, I made the plinth for it from actual a roof tile. So I'm hoping that means that people don't walk through it, but I'm not too sure. I thought these rugs looked fantastic. I think they're actually Indian rugs, and obviously this is an African themed shop, but it's close enough. I think I can get away with that. Yeah, I think they're a great little piece. I'm not really sure what they're doing in the game. I don't know how you would use them in any other way in a zoo, to be honest. But I'm not complaining because they work quite nicely in a shop. And yeah, a little bit of trouble here, just trying to make the display look nice. You can see I just yeah, using these roof panels here, they make perfect little plinths for objects to sit on. So yeah, I was quite happy to use them. So this whole project really, it took me quite a while. In fact, the longest bit of the project is actually the outside of the building. Some of which you will see in this time lapse, but a lot of it I did off camera because it took me 3 or 4 attempts to get the outside of the building how I wanted it, which you'll see the start of that soon. Here, just this is a rug display. This one, which I love these rugs. I think they're fantastic. I'm definitely going to try and find other ways of using them in the park. Not too sure what, but I'll think of something. But I thought that again, they're just perfect things that you would have here. Again, handmade, but sort of mass-produced handmade. So you'd have them on display, and then you'd ask at the counter, and they'd have some in storage that you could buy. So yeah, that was my thinking. So again, just using the wall pieces and trying to find a way of hanging them so that you can have each one individually signed. As you can see here, just getting all the signs in place and then randomly making up some prices for them. I think it comes together quite nicely. It ends up essentially being like almost like an art gallery. In fact, I think I do call it the African art gallery and gift shop. So essentially these pieces are pieces of art, but they're pieces of art that you can buy. I thought I'd make these all limited. You often see this in this sort of place where they say, you know, there is only, you know, 100 of these available, therefore they can double the price, kind of thing. That's the way retail works, unfortunately. Yeah, really come together nicely, actually. It's quite a rare thing that that when you come up with a new idea and you crack on with it, it's a very nice feeling when it actually works and it comes together nicely. I thought this one did. It took me a bit of effort. I mean, I've already had to redesign the flooring a lot, and like I say, the outside of the building took me a few attempts. But sometimes that's just it takes you a few attempts before you. Sometimes you go into something, and you know exactly what you want it to look like, and sometimes you don't know it. In this case, I didn't exactly know. I knew what materials I wanted to use, and I knew roughly the idea. But until you start really trying to build it, it doesn't always go as smoothly as you hope. So you can see here, I'm just starting to work on the outside of the building. Obviously, because of the way the shops are. The outside wall is going to be quite a way further back from the inside wall, so I had to cover up this view from the top down. So again, just using this Australian wood, just continuing the theme. I do then build this exterior wall using the I think it's a limestone walling here. Now that actually does disappear. Most of it I delete, but some of it just gets lost in amongst some other wall that I build later on, because you'll see in a second I build this and then it's clearly rubbish, quite frankly, and it's way too square, doesn't have a good texture. Obviously I wasn't going to leave it like that. I was always going to put some layering on it of some other stone effects, but at the time I wasn't quite sure, so I moved on to the roof instead. I just thought, yeah, okay, let's leave that for now. I'm not too sure what I'm doing with that. Let's just head to the roof and see what I can do up there. I knew I wanted a glass roof. It's quite a modern building, and a lot of modern buildings have these nice glass roofs. So that's what I went with. The glass roof does stay. I'm very happy to say it works out very nicely, but the wall that I'm building here, clearly doesn't. It just didn't work. It looks rubbish, as you can see. So all this effort that I'm putting into making this nice curved bit of roof at the top here is just completely pointless. But that's the process that we go through when we're building these things. Sometimes everything happens correct first time. Sometimes you spend hours on something and then it turns out to be awful and you have to delete it and start again. So I wanted this glass roof. I love the idea of it. In fact, at some point I'm probably going to build a very large sort of greenhouse, I think, for this zoo, because building this has really made me think that it can look really nice. It can work very well, and it's so easy. There's so many different shaped pieces with this glass roof set. You really can come up with so many different shapes and designs, and they all look fantastic, all of these glass pieces. You can see it took me a few attempts just to work out the best piece for each place, but it's great fun just playing around and seeing what works and what doesn't, and I think that works really nicely, and with the wood underneath it as well, very effective. And this is where the problem starts now, because I want to do the outside. Obviously I need to frame the front here, and everything was a bit too big, and then I started using these pieces which I really like, but obviously I end up completely covering up the limestone wall, which is why it disappears soon. because this stuff is so much better. Basically, it's it's textured. It's a nicer colour, and I didn't want the building to look too square as well. So what I needed to do was almost create a pyramid effect, which I start doing in a minute, where obviously as it goes lower it gets wider, because at the moment it looks way too boxy, which I didn't like at all. Trying to make an edge along the front here. Again, I tried these pillars, didn't look right at all. Tried these brick pieces, that didn't look good either. Do you know what? I can't even remember what I went with in the end. It's been a little while since I built this. The one bit of this that came together correctly first time actually is when I do the signage on the front on this piece. You can see I'm trying all these different trims and things along the front, and in the end I just gave up and moved on and thought, right, I'll come back to that. Let's work on the edging first. So I find a few different pieces. I just started just chucking stuff down really, and just keep on layering pieces together and seeing what looks good. Doing corners is always tricky on this sort of building because there aren't many corner pieces, and you end up, as you can see, you put them together but you still end up with an awkward corner which doesn't look good. And well, you'll see what I do in the end. I think you might only see that in the real time. I don't think it's quite in this time lapse, because what I was thinking of is, because I was making a very square building, I would try and sort of compensate for that a bit on the corners and have some round pillars on the corner of the building. And I spent ages doing it, as you're about to see, I think, and it looked terrible, quite frankly. When I started it, I thought it looked okay, but it didn't, as you can see, because I wanted one big round pillar, but it just wasn't the piece that I could find that looked, it was the right, they're all too small, too narrow. I need a really big wide one, like the sandstone one, but I didn't want it to be sandstone, and you can't change the colour of the sandstone. So I had the idea of doing this sort of 3 pillars together in a little triangle, and I do it, and I put it in, and I continue. I persisted. I thought, if I just keep going with this, eventually it will look good. But that doesn't always work, unfortunately, and it didn't. It looked terrible. I couldn't get it to look good at all, and so I end up going back to the square pieces, and then there is one of these trim pieces which has an actual end. It is the end piece, and so what I end up doing is crossing them over to create a sort of a cross pattern. So you don't end up with a blank end. You end up with 2 decorated ends, if that makes sense. It probably doesn't. I will explain what I mean in the real time at the end of this time lapse. So yeah, you can see what I'm doing with the pillar. I just kept on doing it, and then I just gave up. I thought, no, that's rubbish. It just looked terrible. I just couldn't make it work. I persisted though, as you can see. I tried them again over on this side. I thought, yeah, that's good. I can line this up, and then I looked back. I just give up, Adam. Just give up. It's rubbish. There we go. And here we go with the end pieces. You see, so that's what I do. I just crisscross them, and in the end, I think it looks really nice. I really wish I'd done that earlier, because I wasted about 20 minutes on those stupid round pillars. But hey, that's life. That's what happens to us all. in games like this, it does anyway. And then I thought, oh, look at that. These things fit perfectly on these stairs, and they look grand, but they don't look too over the top. And so I put them all along this staircase here. I think it works very nicely. Really happy with that as an entrance. And again, I just keep on doing it, basically. I just keep on layering these end pieces. I just thought they're the only piece that have 3 sides decorated, and so they can work in all different directions, and they do, and yeah, really like how it turns out. As you can see, I'm just playing around with the front. I really wanted the big lion head on the front, so I do that in a minute. I think that's the very last bit of this time lapse. Again, I do this down the side, and then that gets completely covered up because I wanted it to be wider, so I put in another layer. There we go. There's your lion. I think it looks lovely. It's a bit over the top. This whole building is a bit over the top, really, but I like it, quite frankly, and so I'm going to forgive myself. I've actually made it even more over the top, which you'll see in the real time. But for now, I think that's it. So I will see you in a moment. Here we are back in the zoo, and obviously we're talking about the Africa Art Gallery, but I wanted to start right back here. We're back at the entrance at the moment, just because I wanted to sort of show you the impact that this building has as you come into the zoo and around the corner. So as you can come in, you'd come here and you'd turn left, and look at that. You'd notice that straight away, wouldn't you? I love that. But it's kind of hidden. I've put trees in front of it, and I kind of like that because it grabs your eye and it grabs your attention, but you're not too sure what it is. So it makes you want to go and have a look. So here we go. The Africa Art Gallery and Gift Shop. It's a bit over the top. It's a bit grand, but I love it. I absolutely love it. Yeah. Actually, just firstly, as you can see down here, I had a bit of a gap here, so I put this little topiary garden down on this side near the warthogs. Just wanted to fill the gap in, and because of what I've just built, with all of this being very formal back here, I thought topiary, looks nice and formal. So yeah, let's go with some of that. Which I like that. I love these little animal, little squirrel, a little hedgehog on the front here. Cool little things. So here we go. So I put these two flower beds in on each side here. Nice and exotic planting in there, ferns and such. I love them. It just continues, it drags you in. You've got this nice big area here, which is all pathway underneath, so the guests can walk all over this. And yeah, it just grabs your attention and says, come inside and see what we've got to offer. The lettering is perfect for this. The in-game lettering in the game is generally very good, but it doesn't always suit the purpose that you want it for. In this case, it does. It's just the right size, shape, and font for what I wanted. So yeah, I was very pleased with how that turned out. So if we go in, I think most of this was on the time lapse. I think I've done a bit of extra sort of edging around the bottom of these displays and around this carpet one in the middle. You can see I've just put the darker edging around, just finishing touches like that. Just makes everything look a bit more finished and professional. The items are fantastic. I would buy these. I actually do have something similar to this at home. I think many people, when they see this stuff, just get ideas and inspiration for their homes. And some of these pots and things, they're not all sort of things that you would want in your house, but stuff like these tall pots, they would look good sitting in a hallway or a conservatory, maybe with a plant in the top. Maybe a fake plant, but yeah, I think they're fantastic things. Let's have a look around here. Obviously these wooden sculptures aren't for everyone, but they're pretty spectacular. Who wouldn't want that hanging on the wall? Quite a talking point, wouldn't it, if you had that in your hallway? And then obviously you get your little things as well. So these are your £5 for your hanging beads, or your drums for 20 quid, and these wall decorations for 25. Those are your things that you'd actually be selling every day. Obviously stuff like this, you might sell one or two a year if you're lucky. Obviously something like this, you maybe sell one in a lifetime, and when it sells, you'd have to find something new. Oh, there we go, I made it £3,000. You're probably not going to sell that for £3,000, but I wanted it to have a decent price, because it's clearly a unique piece that a lot of effort has gone into. So there we go. So that's the inside. I don't think too much really changed there. The outside, as you can see on both sides, I put these huge flower beds down both sides, Originally, I planted them up similar to these ones at the front, and I didn't like it. It was too crowded, too busy. It didn't look formal enough. So I went with the individual palms in the top, and then I continued the topiary down the side. And I just thought it continues the theming from over here, sort of draws it all together, and it just looks nice and formal, well looked after. I need to get rid of the grass growing through the floor there. I'll sort that out. Yeah, actually I can do that while we're talking. Here we go. Let's get rid of that. Easily done. Right, and obviously just continued this this pathway. There is path underneath this as well. This is my usual technique of just sinking the ceiling down into the ground, makes it look like a pathway, and some basic fencing around the outside. I don't know what I'm going to do further around the back here. At the moment there's nothing on the back of the building, but there may be, just depends what I do over here. I was thinking of maybe making a small conservatory on the back, so that might happen at some point. I'm not too sure yet. So yeah, so that's it. That's my Africa art gallery and gift shop. Yeah, it's a bit different. It's a little bit out of place, I think, for the zoo, but it was great fun building. And at the end of the day, that's what I'm all about. I just want to have fun experimenting with different buildings and ideas and different habitat ideas. And this was just an idea that I had. It was a thought, and I've created something pretty good, I think. So yeah, very happy with that. So I'm going to leave it there. I hope you've enjoyed watching and listening. I've certainly enjoyed waffling on. I will see you in the next episode. What's in the next episode? Elephants. There we go. Spoiler alert. Elephants. So thank you very much for listening, and I will see you next time. Bye for now.